Yoo-hoo! Written Undead Land. We're back.
Yes, we
I'm
are.
Jack Childress. That's Richard Ryan Rose. Over there is my liege, the great Centurion Angelus Maximus. We also know him as Angel Ramon around here. Ooh, we got some heavy wind coming in from somewhere.
Yeah, that's probably where I am. Yeah, got some winds out here. Let me just get inside a little more.
There we go. That's a little bit better.
Yeah.
So, our guest this week is the one and only Boyd Craven. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you guys?
Hanging in there, trying
Hanging
to
in
survive
there,
this
man.
heat.
Couldn't be better.
Getting through the hot stuff. Getting through the hot
Yep.
stuff.
I think
So-
we're all feeling the heat.
Yeah,
Big
we
time.
are.
Well, Boyd, give us a little inside info on the Boyd Craven. What got you into all the writing and all the craziness?
Well, my parents started it off when they brought an XT computer home for for the family to play with. And the first thing I did is wanted to write a story. So I've always been a big reader. And I always wanted to write my own stories.
So, what's the first thing you wrote?
So do you know the Parker Stories by Westlake?
No, I cannot say as I
Not
do.
really.
Okay, so he wrote about Parker, and then Stephen King wrote The Dark Half, which was George Stark and Thad Beaumont, pen names of pen names, kind of a homage to them. And I was writing like slasher fan fiction based on that as a kid growing up. So school got a hold of that, and they thought I was planning something weird, and my parents had to come in and say, no, he's writing a story. They're like, oh, that's kind of unusual.
Oh boy.
My teachers my English teacher got involved, and she said, yeah, this dude reads way above his reading level and and he's been writing stories off and on, and I just always did it until I finally published.
Very cool. Now, how long did it take before you got your first publication done?
2012, 2013.
Okay. All right. So you've really been at it for a hot minute then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you go the traditional route or indie?
I'm a hybrid, but I like the indie publishing a lot better.
Okay,
So
why
it
is
seems
that?
like
Sorry. Why is that?
The pay structure and the fact I'm a bit of a control freak. I like to, have a lot more say over the editing process as well as covers and stuff like that.
Makes sense.
I've learned that I think my marketing ideas kind of work out a little better than what a big house can do. I can do more as an indie, I think, unless they're really going to throw some money behind a book.
Yeah, unless you're a neat title in a traditional publishing house. Yeah, I totally understand.
So, I tried it. It wasn't for me. I've been self-publishing for a long time, so I went back to that.
Okay. How long exactly? How long exactly have you been self-publishing?
Since 2012. That's
Since
how I
2012.
started. That's how I started. And then I was approached by an editor.
okay. So what all types of different genres do you write in?
Under my name, urban fantasy, mostly post-apocalyptic, some zombie stuff. I don't do that much anymore. Pen name stuff, anything from romance to paranormal romance.
Paranormal romance.
Yeah.
That one sounds a little spicy.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, but paranormal romance is actually pretty big, Jack. Believe it or not, that's actually a pretty big genre out in the indie world. So don't knock it until you try it.
Well, what's an example of your paranormal romance stories?
Exactly.
Well, since it's a secret pen name, I can't give those out.
Okay. Gotcha.
Okay. Fair enough.
We'll bring you back on, but we'll just have you off screen with the voice modification thing, and
Yeah.
we'll do it that way. Surely nobody will figure it out. No way.
I was going to say, I've only had one person ever figure it out, and that's because they were really good at picking apart writing styles.
I didn't think about that. If you're going to write under a pen name, you can't exactly sound like you and your other stuff because somebody would be like, this
Yeah.
sure seems like something Boyd would have written.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, and I kind of let it slip in the Opus series. You know, I didn't necessarily mean for that series to sell as well as it did. I wrote that for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I based the character off of, you know, me and my wife and our family. And, you know, it's fiction, of course, but I mean, you take what you know and you write it, you know, into the world sometimes. And that's how my character started off. His writing career was writing paranormal romance, and people are like, "Wait a minute, we knew you had a female pen name. Is this related?" And then, you know, they went on the hunt and started reading all kinds of PNR, and they're like, "Wait, I figured it out."
Busted.
But since I'm not
You've
using
been
it,
exposed.
yep. Well, they're sworn to secrecy. Plus, I bribed them with, you know, before the book gets released, they get a first read.
Okay.
Sounds like a little bit of blackmail to me. But who am I to judge? So when you get your creative juices going, is there anything that helps just keep pushing you along, or is it just like automatic? Click, the light goes on, and you're like, I know what I want to write, and you just
For the most part, yeah. A lot of times I'll write to music, and I'll write to like video game stuff, like the Fallout 4 music, playlists and stuff like that. I like, you know, getting Radio City, their playlist going in the background, just, you know, pick out stuff from real life. Most of the time I can't write with any kind of lyrics though, because pretty soon, you know, you're typing away and all of a sudden you're typing the lyrics and
Yep, I've caught myself doing that a few times, Ashley. So I totally get it.
so, you know, I listen to a lot of acoustical stuff, or I put like some Joe Satriani on there, and that helps keep me in control. You know what I mean? So, I mean, but the inspirational part, you know, I kind of pull from everywhere, from real life to, you know, a weird idea I saw somewhere or read somewhere, or way back when they were worried about Ebola breaking out in the US, I thought, what if they rushed that vaccine? And this is back in 2013, I think.
Mhm.
So what if they rushed that vaccine and, you know, used an mRNA component in it, and it goes bad, and that's how the zombie apocalypse starts. So, you know, something right out of the news, you know, Ebola coming to America. And I thought, I can use that. And, you know, I busted that story out, you know, in a couple of weeks.
Wow, that's some. How many words were in that one?
I don't know, 50 or 60,000.
Okay.
Ooh,
Pretty
okay.
good in 2 weeks.
Now, do you keep up with your
That's
word?
really good.
Do you keep up with your word counts?
Yeah, I try to.
What's the average word count for you?
I try to go 3,000 to 5,000 a day.
Oh, okay.
I try to write every day, but I've been so bad about it this year. I would say, you know, a couple times a week, I might get, you know, 10,000 words for a week lately. But with it being summertime, the kids being home, we just spent a month up north camping, you know, so it's been a lot of procrastination on my part.
Well, that's fair. It's summertime. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
Now, are there any genres or styles that you've been wanting to write you just haven't done yet because for whatever reason?
I wrote a sea adventure called Dead Man's Key, and I had a lot of fun with that. And it sold really well for a little bit, but because it's not my main genre, you know, I didn't have a follow-up book right away, and it, you know, it's very profitable. I've got friends that do, you know, that are kings of the genre, but, you know, if that's not what I'm going to write every day, then it's not really going to make me money, and I can't really focus on it too much. So I do fun books to kind of clear my head, because, you know, I joke around. People are like, describe your job poorly. And I say, in fiction, you know, I'm the world's most successful serial killer. I usually wipe out most of the world by the time my books are done.
Well, that's the fun part about the books. I mean, come on now.
Right.
Now, have you dabbled in any cryptozoology?
No.
Ever thought about it?
It'd be fun.
said, well, if you ever need any like live interviews, to get some real good background, Rich knows a few Sasquatch he could put you in touch with that could help you out greatly.
I have my connections. Yeah.
And they make damn good shine too.
Now, Boyd, I got a question for you, buddy.
Sure.
Were there any inspirational, were there any books or authors that you particularly like that really lit the fire to start writing?
I know it's not his best book, but Tommyknockers by Stephen King. When I was a kid, I read that one.
Okay.
Lady's walking her dog and she trips and falls and ends up being, the tip of a spaceship. And the more they dig it up, the more crazy the story gets. And it goes from, thriller and science fiction to holy crap, what did I just read?
That was my feeling on the Langoliers.
Yeah.
The
Langoliers, yeah.
That went wild in a hurry.
Yeah.
So now what advice would you give to anyone who's thinking about getting in front of that computer and starting to try to throw a story out there? What would be something you would tell them, maybe to push them over the top and make them go for it?
First thing I'd tell them is that finishing the book is the hardest thing you're ever going to do. I don't care where you're at in your author career. If you're brand new or you're very experienced, I bet you everyone out there's got 8 or 10 manuscripts that they just haven't finished. They're sitting between, 1/3 and 2/3 done. Finishing the book should be the first thing they should focus on. And then don't be afraid of making mistakes. Third is going to be have really thick skin. And fourth is going to be to have people that tell you when it sucks. And then lastly is understanding, because you've done all those 4 things, how to fix it. And if you don't, that's what really good editors are for. But you may have to do they have different editing levels. Developmental editors, when you're first starting off, might be very beneficial, but they're also really expensive because they're like a writer coach almost. So it depends on where your skill level is.
Right.
But, those first 4 things are the most important, but the hardest one is still just finishing that book.
Absolutely agree with that one. Yeah. I've talked to plenty of aspiring authors who never finished a book, and and they get depressed and they get they get down on themselves. I tell them it's not easy. So
right.
And another thing is the push drafts will always suck. Period.
Oh yeah.
Jack, and he's read some of my push drafts, so Jack would know.
Oh yeah.
Well, I tell you, you mentioned the developmental editors. Yeah. Especially for a brand new writer, it is beneficial. It is crazy expensive. Like you said, I had a developmental editor for both my books, and the first book, it was a huge, huge help. It helped me make, what I'd already refined my book, gone through it, 8, 9, 10 times, before I even sent it to an editor. And he just helped me add few critical elements that just made the story that much better. And then on the second go around, I kind of had a better handle on writing and story developing, and is mainly, I spent a bunch of money on positive feedback on the second book, and I was like, well, okay, so maybe on the third one, maybe I got the hang of it by now. We'll see.
Well, I met a friend on Keyboards that was mainly a reader, and she dabbled with writing. But she was a good enough friend to where she read, my first draft of one of my first books, and she goes, you can tell a story, but your writing sucks. Let's flesh this out. You didn't explain this well enough. The pacing drags right here. And then by the end of the book, you're just going, oh my God, I don't care if they live or die at this point. Just someone do something. And it's like, that was the kind of feedback I needed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so I got to learn about pacing, and I got to learn about structure. And since I started the indie route, books like Superstructure and there's a couple of books on plotting and outlining that were real helpful too.
Okay. Now can someone just say go on Amazon and search for those to order them so they can have them?
Superstructure is one of them, and I can't remember who wrote that. The other one on outlining and plotting is Take Off Your Pants by Libby Hawker. It's how to go from being a pantser to an outliner. And it really helped me push from writing shorter stories and novellas into, full-length novels.
Okay. Now, do you use any additional tech, like say Grammarly?
Actually, I use a microphone quite a bit, and I use Dragon Naturally Speaking. So when my hands start wearing out, when my hands start wearing out, I just get my mic out and I just start talking into it. And it's not finished words. A lot of the humor and a lot of the dialogue sounds very dry when I do it this way. So when I go back through on my first round of edits is when I'm adding more detail, more information, more snark. But for me, sometimes using the mic and dictation is like getting 65% of it done, and you're adding the rest as you go on your rewrites.
Yeah, but how's that? I'm sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. How does that help you with the grammar and stuff? I mean, does Dragon check for that as well, or?
So everything I dictate, I dictate into Notepad basically, and then I'll copy and paste it into Word. So that way I've got, what I'm working on right here, and then on the other side, it goes into my Word doc. And by the time I'm done with my rewrites, everything on my Word doc should be good to go.
Okay.
Yeah, I honestly my Grammarly, but this one I want to try called Pro Writing Aid. Have you heard of that one? Pro Writing Aid.
Yep. Yeah, I mean they're both good. They're both good for self-editing tools, but they're not perfect. You can sometimes screw yourself up a little bit too using
them. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I've been reading the Chicago Manual of Style to help me out too. I've gotten better since, and I'm sure Jack will see the next book be even better. So, because Jack is the one who helps me edit my books. So, in case you didn't know, Jack is the man.
It's the way I get to check the book out before anybody.
Right.
Grammarly works well for me, but like I said, I can't just blindly accept all their corrections. No. You gotta vet that, because sometimes they'll make suggestions on how to correct this, and it's not going to make any difference.
And it's not always correct.
Right.
And especially if you've got somebody with a certain accent, like a southern way of saying things or whatever, and Grammarly's gonna be like, "What in the world is this, y'all?"
Right?
Yeah.
You can actually you can train Dragon, for example, or Grammarly. You know what I mean? You can actually train the programs to get some of that stuff. And that's part of the reason why I like dictation, because I'm real dialogue heavy in my
I don't know why they did that.
And the rules don't really matter as much in dialogue as they do outside of dialogue. So as long as I get that right and I get it close enough, my editor can usually fix anything that I don't see. So with Grammarly and Pro Writing Aid, I might use them to clean it up before I send to my editor.
So now, what seems to be the longer part of the process? The actual writing of the book, or the cleaning, editing, and finalizing the book?
Sometimes, honestly, it's the research before I start writing. I might spend a couple of weeks researching a topic and making sure I know it inside and out. I had a series of books about a moonshiner, and I actually spent about a month learning the process, and you can't just watch moonshiners on TV. A lot of that stuff is only for TV, and it doesn't really, they're not showing you the whole process, or they're showing you things wrong deliberately so you don't make something that will hurt yourself or others.
Yeah.
So, I mean, learning the process and having the knowledge inside and out to be able to write with somewhat authority on the subject. I can't be all things, so I have to research, or I have to go visit someplace. I can't just, start writing about Memphis, Tennessee, for example, never having been there. You know what I mean? That's just
right
how my process works. And if I can't physically go there, then, I talk to people who live there. I take, Google Maps and do street views, and I read reviews on restaurants, and what's the nightlife like, and where the bars are to hang out, and where do the locals hang out, and talk to a few people that live in those areas, and just randomly try to absorb as much as I can.
Now, have you ever had anyone like message you after you've written a book, say somewhere that you weren't able to go, so you did the online research, and they're like, that's not there anymore, or something like that?
Yeah. In my Devil Dog trilogy, I talked about the old mail tunnels underneath of Chicago.
Uh-huh.
And they're like, yeah, it doesn't go as far as you make it sound here. And I said, well, here's the thing. Number one, it's fiction. Number two, I did mention they broke into Chicago Transit Authority tunnels. So they're not just using the mail tunnels and the coal tunnels. And, you know, they're also going through the storm drains. And again, it's fiction. Sorry. But, you know, some of those urban spelunkers really take that stuff super serious.
Oh, that's like Angel brings up a lot, since he had to step away there for a second. He said, like with the lit RPG universe, if you don't get something just spot on, somebody's going to catch it, and they're going to point it out to you, you know, just like, no, man, that rule doesn't work that way.
Well, in post-APOC, a lot of times it's guns.
Mm.
You cannot screw up your guns. If you're writing action thrillers or post-APOC, anything military in it, you got to have your research down pat, or have someone alpha read it for you that's an expert on it to catch all your stuff before you release it. Otherwise, you're going to get crucified.
Well, it's like with you, Richard, when you were working on Wild Eyed Southern Boys, and you know, going to do the prequel for Wild Eyed Southern Boys, you actually made the trip back to Townsend just to make sure you had the full lay of the land and remembered everything, because I mean, you're from there or that area, so I mean, you know, that's really making sure if they moved something or took something out or whatever.
I also
comment there from Jeff. Let's see what Jeffy says. The mark of a great con is in the details. Writers are natural con artists.
Yes, I agree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, you know, like in Townsend, you know, I had to make sure that I had the rail system, which no longer exists. You know, I had to at least have an idea of where it went, how far it went out, and had to do a lot of historical research on that. And that's one of the that book was a pain in the butt to write because of all the research. So yeah, spot on right there, Boyd. With the research can really be time consuming, but it's worth it in the end.
Yeah, and for me, sometimes I can't do this anymore. But I used to be able to sit down and do close to 8,000 to 10,000 words a day every day.
Wow!
When I was starting off, and I was doing romance. You know, that was real common. I can't do that all the time anymore, but I'm also writing something that I need to do more research on. But my wife also said there's a reason why just about all Hallmark movies, they have a bad guy. Their name is going to be Boyd, because I pissed off someone out there that knows my real name.
So now, more on a more personal level, writing the romance novels, as you're going through the process and you're getting the book out, does it ever spice up your real life?
Not necessarily. I mean, my wife has read them. If anything, it's kind of embarrassing because, you know, I'm on the treadmill. I've got my headphones on. I'm dictating. And my wife walks in and I'm writing a sex scene, but I've got my headphones on. I don't know if she's walked up behind me. And I'm telling this from the female's point of view because this is a female pen name book. And
right.
Until I start hearing laughing and pounding. And I'm like, is someone knocking on the... No, she like fell down and she's laughing and just banging on the walls like, oh my God.
Oh Lord.
This crap is coming out of your Mr. Bean sounding voice. And
oh boy. Yeah. Yeah, that would be
or she's read some of them and she's like, really? And I'm like, it's a book.
It's a book. I mean, this is not my weapon. My this is not how I really feel. Oh man.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on the day Richard writes his first romance novel.
You'd be waiting a while.
Yeah, Jack actually got to read one of my Harlem stories. I kind of dabbled into Harlem at one point. So yeah.
Well, for me, writing romance was a little bit mercenary. I mean, I didn't set off to write a bad story. I always wanted to write a really good story people would enjoy.
Right.
But it's not where my heart was. And since it's not as research intensive, unless it's like a location or something, you know, like a lot of romance stories, they have like a location in mind. And if I don't know that location, I have to research it. Other than that, it's not as intense as post-APOC or, you know, thrillers or other things. So those were, that's why I said when I was writing romance, I could get the bigger word count days because there wasn't as much research.
Why? Totally understandable. Right. Yeah, I always see Jack as the kind of guy that could write a good romance. Don't you think? Oh, it needs a romance.
Well, if you, and my numbers might be out of date, but at one point, romance was like 80% of the market for books.
Oh wow.
I think it's still pretty high though. I gotta tell you, I think it's still.
I think it is.
It probably is because it seems to me like, even in the written Undead, which is a lot of horror, a lot of zombies, there are a ton of women that are into that. So I've always pegged them as being more of the book friendly sort over men. So
right. I think men tend to stick with one or two genres they really like to read, and I think the women kind of tend to read whatever interests them and what they feel like.
Looking at the numbers, I would like to write a romance. I just wouldn't do. I just don't think I would do a good job of it. I wouldn't do it justice.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. There's romance in my books, but not. It's not.
I've done harem romance, but the thing about the harem in my romance these stories is that it's not the main point of the story. It's more of a subplot. It's not meant to be the actual plot. That's what I mean. Making a whole story where romance is the main plot device. I just don't think I could do it justice.
If I wrote a romance, it would be the equivalent of a monkey humping a football.
So in other words, Boyd, I give you props for even trying. I got to give you major props for even trying to do a romance. I got to give you props for it.
I was almost making a living writing that.
Okay,
but because it's 80% of the market, it's that much harder to get a book to really break out.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. I totally get it.
I had a friend one day that just said, write something that you'd want to read. And I said, well, I like post-apoc, and I just got done reading the Ashes series by William Johnstone for like the 10th time. And so I thought, yeah, let's see what happens. And I wrote the story and published it. Wasn't paying attention for like a whole week. And she's like, holy crap, have you seen your numbers? And I said, no. She goes, you need to write the next book. And I went and looked, and it was like outselling everything I'd ever put out there. And I'm like, well, crap. I guess I'm going to write post-apoc from here on out. And I haven't turned back.
Well, to answer Jeff here real quick, with or without cheese balls, Jack. Now I'm picturing a monkey covered in cheese balls dust humping a football. So thanks for that, Jeff.
That sounds like the Jack I know.
I swear, you never know who's lurking in the comments section. I'm just waiting on Tim Brooks to show up.
That's what makes the show fun.
I might have to read up on some of the romance stuff, just my anniversary, 29th anniversary is tomorrow, so.
You better definitely
even
get up
better,
on
yeah. You got 29 years. Congratulations, Richard.
Real.
Yeah.
And the fact that she hasn't killed you yet, that's a plus.
That's a flat out fucking miracle.
Yeah. Jack, man, you always bring out the positivity and everything. I got to give it to you.
It's what I do.
I had to keep my fan on. That noise isn't coming through, is it?
No.
Okay, good.
No, you're good. You're good. In fact, if you could get it just the right way, your lovely locks could start to flow in the breeze. Makes me
there
jealous.
We go.
You got a real professional setup back there. It looks like it's
I got to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the bad thing about my setup up here is it's second story. It used to be an unfinished attic area. No air conditioning, no heat runs.
Oh, Lord.
For 8 months out of the year, it's pretty awesome. But when I'm on stuff like this using the mic, I can't run the AC.
Oh,
yeah, that sucks.
So the vibration comes through the walls. It comes through the sound equipment I've got set up.
Have you seen one of those little personal air conditioning units they've got out that kind of blow the mist out? You just fill water into them and they blow you cold air. You might want to get you one of those.
I've actually got one, but I live in Michigan where the humidity is about 90% right now already. So they don't really work as well with high humidity areas.
Boy, quick question. What part of Michigan are you in right now?
So I live in the greater Flint area.
Greater Flint?
Yep. I'm
Okay.
8 miles away from downtown Flint.
Oh,
Okay, that's
I asked you because my girlfriend, she used to live in Flint, but now she moved up to Upper Michigan. So,
Okay.
You know,
Well,
where
we go camping is up near Charlevoix. So
okay.
I spend a couple of months up there in the summer, and then most of the time here.
Cool. All right.
I am trying to turn my notifications on my phone off because.
Yeah, they get annoying. I know.
Getting
I
blown
always
up.
make sure I do that.
Yeah.
I always make sure I do before I go live. Yeah, absolutely.
I do, but well.
Yeah, my big thing is remember to turn off my ringer on my phone because otherwise
that too. Mm-hmm.
Well, my ringer was off, but my wife. I told Jack before I got on here. My wife was at the store because I accidentally sent him a message I was going to send my wife, and she's home and it's setting off my motion sensors. So that's the one thing on my phone I forgot to turn off. It's separate.
The security system. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but don't want that going off during the show.
Well, it was starting to. That's why I was like,
Oh. So, what are you working on right now? What you got coming up?
So, I'm working on the Farm Book 4 right now. I just finished a short story that's going in Dee's anthology, the charity anthology for the Gary Sinise Foundation.
Oh, nice.
And that's called Bad Guy. And it kind of gives some background into what happened in book 3 when people were put in FEMA camps and, kind of the background stuff that goes on there. It wasn't really like a jail, but there was still a lot of weird internal things going on back and forth, and it's going to introduce some characters that I'm going to bring in the Farm Book 4. And essentially, this guy's like, I always considered myself a good guy, but sometimes good guys got to do bad things and they can't feel sad about it. And if I got to be that bad guy, so be it.
Wow.
That'd be like me in Richard's book 3.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, which I still got to figure out a way to take you out. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, man.
I still got to figure out a way. But it's a little tricky because to put you in a historical fiction is a little tricky because you're from Tennessee. I'm not sure I could fit a Tennessee dude in a Greek historical fiction. I'll try to find something though.
Yeah, well,
Now, Boyd, since I was bringing that up, do you have any people you actually know that you wrote them in as different characters?
Oh, all the time. Let's see. Lisa Akers was Lisa in the World Burn series. She's kind of the hippie, kind of the mama hippie character in the whole book and the whole series. Let's see. In the Devil Dog trilogy, that one was real research heavy. Like I mentioned, Chicago. But the guy I based it off of was, I got the idea from someone I met. And he was homeless. He had lots of mental health issues. The biggest one was undiagnosed PTSD, if I had to guess. But he was a natural born survivor. He's telling me, you got your food out there and you got your camp set up and you need to walk away and do something, but the rats are going to all come and eat your food. He said, so, a gallon of ammonia is about $1. You pour it all around your camp, the rats won't come around. It's like, really?
Kind of a cool little factoid.
And he would just talk about different ways of fishing and hunting and trapping and, panhandling for money. So, it really gave me, I don't know, an idea to really create a character around. In Dead Man's Key, Donnie and Chris Surfastini are in there along with Chuck, one of my buddies I go fishing with in Florida. Franklin Horton ends up in my books now, and
know that name.
He's been a preacher in some of my books. I'm trying to think. I've got him in as a couple of different characters. Oh, he owns a boat graveyard in another one. I think I'm a serial killer in his series. So
Ooh.
we kind of go back and forth.
Well, dude, you've got the right name for a serial killer. Just saying. I mean, come on, Boyd Craven.
He does.
Are you kidding me?
Right.
I can't argue with that.
Granted, they use a K in the Marvel series, but Craven the Hunter.
Right.
Kind of what
I
I
see
think
a
of,
comment, Jack. It says, so Jack's future ex-wife.
Yeah, and I just looked to see who that came from. Hi, Lee.
Lee Edwards. Let's pick on Jack now.
Get back in your little dark corner, you crazy person.
Let's pick on Jack a little bit.
Yeah. I think it wouldn't be a show if we didn't at least once. They said, I'm just waiting for the comment ninja to show up. If he does, then we're complete. We've made it. Oh, hang on. Here we go. We got a good comment from Jeff here. Boyd, are you going to 20 books this year?
Yep, I'm all booked up. So
very cool. Now, how big of an event is that? I hear a lot about it. I mean,
it's a couple thousand people generally.
Okay.
Back when it was at Samstown, it wasn't as big, but it's a Caesar's property. I can't remember what they're renaming it, but there was like 1,800 people last time.
I just joined that group. I'm looking forward to that. I mean, I won't be there this year. I've got too much going on, but next year I might actually take a little trip out.
I think it's in Nevada, correct?
Yep, Las Vegas.
Yeah, Las Vegas, right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, now I'll tell you, Boyd, and Rich can vouch for this. One place you should look into going to, if you can make it next year in May, is the Bigfoot Festival in Townsend, Tennessee.
Okay.
That bad boy had over 30,000 people roaming those grounds. That guy, muscle-bound Mary over there, went in hoping to sell 1 or 2 books, make a little contact and whatnot. Well, 43 out of 50 later, I mean, the traffic was just constant, and people were willing to check out just about anything. So I would highly suggest coming to that one because we're going to be there and we can maybe try to see if we can get lucky and get our tents near each other. And go that route because I'm telling you, man, there's some potential in that thing.
To be fair, the reason why Richard sold so many books because he had a good cheerleader. Jack was there with his pom-poms.
I had my ace in the hole up there, so.
Yep, he had Jack was dressed as a Sasquatch with pom-poms.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you need to have majority of your stuff has to be Bigfoot related also. At your tent, so that's something to consider as well. It's easy for me because mine are Bigfoot related. But
I was going to say May might be tough anyway. I think I've got 2 events going in May already planned out. Heritage Life Skills in Waynesville, North Carolina, put on by Carolina Readiness Supply. They generally have their show in May, and then I know Dee's got her show that she's going to be doing. I think it's going to be in Colorado again.
Okay.
So for me,
quick, I want to ask. Well, hey, Jeff, are you going to be at 20 books? We'll wait for his comment. So
I think he will. I think he said something bad about he will. I think so.
Well, now there's that other event, the one that Richard, Merrill, and several others were at the Texas Author Con. Have you looked at maybe hitting that one year?
I would like to. That's where a big chunk of my family lives. So
cool.
I haven't done it yet.
Say 2 birds, 1 stone with that one.
Right.
This was our first year doing it, and we're already planning for next year. I said I won't be in Texas next year, but it was for a very first go around. It was a very successful event, and I think it's going to be even bigger and better next year.
And Jeff just answered the question. Absolutely. So will D. Cooper.
Yep.
I have an all-star cast.
And Jack, I think didn't you say you got the guy who won 20 books coming on November? Craig
we do. Well, why don't we just take a little look-see? Talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah, Craig. Yep. Craig organizes the.
Yep, there he goes. When is that? When is that? November the 5th?
That would be November the 5th.
Yep.
Remember.
All right. Yeah, you said something about that.
Yep, remember the 5th of November. So that should be a pretty darn interesting show.
So,
'Cause I am-
Boyd, Boyd, so how often do you go camping?
Usually twice a year.
Twice a year?
Yeah.
And how long do you spend out there?
Between 8 and 10 weeks.
Oh wow,
Oh,
that's a
nice.
vacation right there.
That's a vacation right there.
The kids are out of school and I have laptop. I can write from just about anywhere. This year I didn't. I was kind of a slacker, but
Hey, everybody's got to take a break every now and then.
Yeah, well, I know, right? Yeah.
But we've got property up there. My wife's family's got property up there, so we've got a bunkhouse camper, and we're right on the water. So the kids with the kayaks, and we just got a pontoon. So getting that in the water for the last part of the summer is going to be my first goal before I finish up a book.
Gonna do any fishing while you're out there?
Oh, I keep saying I'm going to, but it hasn't happened yet. Real sad about that.
I say, man, you gotta go kill some worms, man. Come on.
Yep. You got to like pike if you're fishing up there.
You got to what?
Like
Got to
pike?
like pike, northern pike. You'll catch more of those than anything else.
Are they good eating?
I was gonna say, how do you prepare that?
I very carefully. They've got a lot of Y bones. A lot of people like to smoke them. I've smoked them before and picked the bones out and then made almost like a whitefish style dip out of it. You can fry them up. Any way you want to do fish. Just got to be careful of the bones.
Okay, so I guess now, would they be good for just straight filleting? Just skip the bones altogether?
Yeah, you can fillet them, but then if you cook the fillet up like that, you'll have those Y bones right in the middle of the fillet.
Ah,
yeah.
So when we're cooking up pike, you're one fillet ends up into like 3 strips essentially, so you can cut the bones out.
okay. Very interesting. So now, when you've been out camping, have you ever heard anything, seen anything?
All the time. And I know you're going to love this, Richard.
Okay.
We're not sure what it was, but my wife was up there one time and it was right at dusk. And this head comes out of the water like this, and it's leaving a ripple 8 feet behind the head. And it's like a huge, it almost looked like a snake, according to the ripples, but the body was kind of big. And we haven't figured out what that is to this day. And I ended up seeing it last summer. And then we've got, I know there's elk up there because we're by Atlanta, but, black bear, late at night, when everything gets quiet and all the yahoos on the lake pass out, it gets real quiet and everyone is sleeping. And that's when, you hear weird crap in the woods. And I've been camping in Michigan forever. I don't know what it all is. So
You got Bigfoot sightings. You got Dogman sightings up in there. No telling.
Yep.
Keep your head on a swivel.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. So,
head on a swivel and a BFR on my hip.
Damn right.
Yeah.
So now, do you ever, when you're out camping and you do some writing out there? I said do. But when you do some writing from out there, does any of your environment suddenly start incorporating itself into what you're writing just because you're not at home, you're not at the computer, you're not in your natural environment, you're in an odd place? Does that ever influence?
Oh, yeah. My book, Flirting with Death, is a zombie book. That was the one I was talking about earlier, that based on Ebola. That one, I used the general area as a template for that book. Kind of, there's a little bit of a town, but once you get outside of town and you go over the tracks and you really can get really deep in the woods. Like no people, no street lights, no light pollution.
So say, do you take a generator with you or anything to have power, or y'all just straight rough it?
We kind of cheat. So we put a power pole in on the property for the camper.
Ah, okay. All right. That's smart.
Yep, we've got a shed and a power pole. That way we don't have to drag everything home every year.
Oh, good.
So we're not quite roughing it, but we're definitely not at home.
Well, hot dog. Um, I know I got another question here. How to go about it. How many series do you have, like, in your entire library?
Mm.
Jack with the stumping questions.
I get one a week, guaranteed.
I know. I'd have to look at Book Report, and let's see if I can. Nope, it wants me to do a capture right now. A lot. I would say under my name, I've probably got 8 or 10 series.
Wow.
Completed or some are still in progress?
Some in progress.
Okay.
Um,
So about how many total books between all the series combined?
all the series and all the pen names, I've got about 140.
Wow.
Wow.
Holy
I
smoke.
better get busy then.
And
No
you've been
doubt.
writing for how long?
I've been full-time since 2014, maybe.
Oh,
So
I
think
better
about
get
it this
busy.
way. Think about it this way. I took my 60, 70 hour a week factory job and replaced it with writing. So how many words a day could you do if you weren't at a full-time day job?
This is true.
I do a lot if I
Well,
didn't
I
have
get
a day
about
job.
I get about 3,000 to 5,000 words a day done. That's easy every day.
Well, according to here, looking at Jeff, roughing it, that means a hotel room without a jacuzzi, right? That's the Coast Guard for you. Pampered.
It sounds more like an Air Force comment, but yeah.
By air or by sea.
Mhm.
But not all of my books are full-length novels. I used to write a lot of novellas.
Okay. Well, okay.
The World Burns, those books in that series, they were, between 35 and 40,000 words a piece.
Bite me.
Yep.
Hey, don't start nothing. There won't be nothing.
Jeffy. And we love you, Jeffy. We love you.
Yeah, I'll see you here in about an hour and 15 minutes. So, what's your experience like? What's your experience been like overall doing different conventions and things? Have you ever had any you went to that you were really thinking could go well and were just a flop?
Yeah. Most of them, not all of them, but and I think it's because of my expectations, and I've changed those over the years. For me, I have to travel everywhere for conventions and shows. Flying with a couple 100 pounds of books is just not realistic.
Right.
It's not. Yeah.
So I end up driving everywhere, and let's say I go down, I did a show in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, I think last year.
Hey, you're not too far. You weren't too far from me, damn it.
I did the gun show down there last April or May in 21. Anyway.
Well, if you do that again, be sure to hit me up and let me know. I'll come see you.
Okay.
Hell.
Yeah. But for example, it was right after COVID. It was kind of a new show. You got to figure it's about $350 round trip gas, back then.
Back then, nowadays, oh my God.
I don't want. Let's not even talk about that, man. Yeah.
You got a couple $100, that you're going to spend on hotel rooms for 2.5 nights. You know what I mean? And then you're going to, then the cost of the books, you know what I mean? And that might only be a few $100 for that. But, you go to a show like that and then, you sell 15, 20, 30 books and, you're looking at, you put in $750 or roughly at that show, and you're not, for me, coming close to breaking even is where
Not even close. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what I count as a win.
Mm-hmm.
And,
just to cut your loss, just break dead even on the thing. Now,
right.
Now, do you tend to see like a surge in sales after stuff like that though, where people have come by Maybe they bought a book and they're like, "Hey, I like this," and all of a sudden you kind of start noticing a little uptick.
Well, here's the trick on those kind of shows. Make sure you have your business card out there with your Amazon link to your author page, and make sure they know, hey, if you're not into, dead trees, the ebook is like $3, and give them a card. And I guarantee you, I give out, a couple hundred cards a show, regardless if I make the sales or not. And it's kind of hard to gauge if I break even or not at a show until a couple of weeks later, and I look at my sales reports on my ebook to see if that actually happened or not.
Okay, so I mean, I guess what it really comes down to when it comes to selling books, there's really more than one way to skin a cat.
Oh, yeah.
You can go so many different angles.
Absolutely.
Well, audiobooks are, soon becoming really major. They used to be 20% of my income, and now I bet you they're up to over a third. I mean,
Well, I mean, for me,
getting into audiobooks.
Well, I mean, over the years, in fact, I'll just go ahead and just display these bad boys. I've had to resort to these things, and it's just not as much fun reading a book anymore as it used to be. And then I got a little bit of the ADD. My mind wanders. I'll read a paragraph, and there'll be something in that paragraph, and I'll suddenly be like, and I'm thinking on it for the next 20 minutes, and I'm not actually reading. Or with an audiobook, I stay more engaged because I got someone telling me a story. If it's a great narrator, it's even better, because they really add to the story. And for me, a lot of the times I get most of my consumption in by driving to work, driving home, and at times when I can at work, being able to listen because I can't run around on a big reach truck or a forklift with a paperback in my hand. But I can have that. I can have that Bluetooth speaker right there by my side with it pulled up on my phone, and I can knock some books out in a heartbeat that way. Now, do you ever run into issues where you just can't get people to review? I mean, because we know how big a deal that is. And
in the beginning, before I built the audience, it was hard. But, my trick for getting reviews now is I release the book, and then 2 or 3 days later, I shamelessly go on Facebook or in the reader groups, and I just beg, and it's like, all right, I know you guys that said you bought this book have already read it, so I really need you to give me a review at this thing. It's going to help cement my numbers in place. It's going to really help the visibility of the books, and it's going to keep my ranking up there longer because somehow they rank that in the algos, and the readers really come through. But you got to give enough time to read the book. And if you want to get ahead of the game, you can give out ARC copies, advanced reader copies. So let's say you've got 30 or 40 people on your ARC team. All you have to do is get them the book a couple of days before the book goes live. And then the day the book goes live, I usually have them wait until the next day to enter their reviews in.
Oh. Okay, now there's something new that I had never thought of before.
That's what actually that's what I do with you, Jack. I give you the book in advance and you review it.
And I do. That's one thing I do for you guys. I make sure I am reviewing. And in fact, a lot of the times I'll have to stop an audiobook at work because being in that warehouse, being around all the steel and the concrete and the power lines and everything, this old guy doesn't always want to play. So if I get down into like the last, say, 20 minutes of an audiobook, I stop right then. And God, you just don't know how much that pains me to do that because that's usually when the shit's hitting the fan. But I'll wait till I get home. I can get back to my tablet. I got my internet service. I've got everything. And then I'll write my review. And because there's another weird thing with this iPhone, and it may not just be the iPhone, may be Droid too. But the moment I do a review from it and I submit it, it freezes to the screen and I can't get out of it. It's like I'm stuck there until I turn the phone off, completely reboot it. Then I can go back in and then I can go pick another book and start listening again. So that's the other reason that I tend to do it from this old tablet right here because I can just continue and move on, and I don't know why that is. But man, reviews are so freaking important.
Well, and a lot of the people, I don't give out a lot of ARC copies.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's some people I'll send chapter by chapter, just hey, did I hit the nail on the head here? Am I missing something here? Or I'm writing about a sensitive topic and I don't want to. I'm deliberately writing a character one way and I don't want to offend, the audience. because for me, I can be very mercenary in my writing. I can write from just about any perspective. I can, with research, I can kind of hit any topic. I've kind of trained myself to do that, but I don't want to screw it up because I don't.
Right.
You get those details wrong, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Mhm.
know. Yep, and they nail you for it. Right. Hmm.
Right.
Well, now that you've been doing this for so long, have you thought about maybe writing your own writing book?
Oh no,
No,
that sounds like work.
I,
That sounds like work. I write
I
for
feel, I feel the, I feel the same way, boy. I've been doing this. I've been doing this since 2017. I feel the same way. So, yeah, you're not gonna get a writing book from me either.
I do this. I was going to say I do this for fun. That sounds.
Yep.
But I
I
mean,
think the best. Yeah, the
well,
best advice is you gotta have fun with it. If you're not having fun with it, then you gotta find a new career.
well, and a lot of the things I do that work for me don't necessarily work for a lot of other people because
That too. That too. Hmm.
when my books first started taking off, there wasn't a whole lot of indies in the post-apoc genre. So
Mm.
I'm not saying I'm a big name in the genre, but I'm recognized in the genre.
You're kind of a big name in the genre.
I'm recognized in the genre, so I don't have to break through every when a new book comes out. So I don't tend to advertise as much as some authors. I mean, I know some authors that are spending, tens of thousands of dollars a month selling books or advertising their books to sell, and their sales reflect that. But are they making more money? They're
What's
spending
It all
about
comes down to the ROI, return on
right.
investment. Hmm.
So I mean,
Yep.
yeah, they probably have a bigger reach because of bigger advertising, but I've never really gone whole hog and really gone all in on the advertising game. And for a lot of authors starting out, that's really a good way for them to get more people. But for me, I built up my mailing list. It's almost 8 years old now. My mailing list is my best marketing tool. And
Yeah,
for,
yeah,
like I said,
yeah.
for me, that's it. What works for me doesn't necessarily work for someone else. So I'd kind of feel like a phony putting my advice in a book to be immortalized for
Right.
people to laugh at
Hmm.
me for the next 100 years.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to ask you one last question before we start wrapping this thing up because we are coming to the end of the hour of the Written Undead podcast. How often did you go through imposter syndrome early on, and
Oh,
or do you still?
Daily,
oh,
every day.
that's
Even
not
with
even a question,
all the
Jack.
books, even with all the books you've got out, everything you've accomplished, all the sales, everything, you still have that hit you.
And I've had it hit me in the face once from someone else too. You,
Really?
yep. You feel like you're fake. You feel like you're a phony, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
imposter syndrome. You're waiting for someone to come up and say you suck. That's how I
Yep,
feel.
you're just waiting for it.
So I'm coming out of a show. I'm coming through. I went through Arizona, New Mexico, West Texas. I was coming into West Texas, going downhill. Duhast comes on the radio, and I had a tailwind. I wasn't paying attention to my speed. I get pulled over. Cop writes me a ticket. As he's walking
Oh,
away, he goes, "By the way, I hated your last book. You
Mm,
suck."
oh,
I'm like,
dang.
oh.
You got
And you're
a
getting a
ticket
ticket?
and a
I,
bad review.
I didn't even
Damn.
know he knew who I was until he's walking away, and he goes, and he said that. And I'm just like, oh, right in the heart.
Ugh.
Hey, your book sucks, by the way. Press hard, 3 copies. Okay.
Right. Going 95 and a 70. Sorry, sir. Your
Yeah,
book's
that might. Yeah, I think they frown upon that. Yep,
well.
yep.
I was dropping elevation fast, and I
Well,
was
see,
pretty much
what you're
yeah.
supposed to tell them is, look, man, I'm falling off a cliff. You know, what am I
Well,
supposed to do?
and back then I was in an Aveo. I didn't even know it could go that fast. The rubber bands and the hamsters were
I was
screaming.
going to
I'm just
say
like,
that poor
my
little
foot's not
hamster was
even on the
dying.
yeah.
At this point, the wheel's
Damn, that's
spinning and the
rough.
hamster's riding with him.
Wow.
All right, well, guys, this has been another fantastically fun show. Boyd, thank you so much for coming on with us. Granted, we ambushed you at the event that Dee had put together there, and we've still got more of you guys that we're bringing on in the future going forward.
Awesome.
But Richard Ron Rose, where can everybody find you, sir?
Find me at Richard R. Rose Author on Facebook and RichardRRose.com on my website. Amazon, Audible, iTunes. 2 books out now. And as far as events, don't have anything coming up real soon, but stay posted.
Angel.
Yes, yeah, you can find me on Amazon. For my knit RPG historical fiction stuff, just type in Angelus Maximus. For my zombie stuff, it's Angel Ramon. Come join me in my Facebook group, The Legionnaires of Angelus Maximus, where me and Jack do a Sunday podcast every 2 weeks. And I still have a couple of paperback copies for sale, so if you're interested, it's $25 a pop. Of my newest book that just came out, got a couple of them left.
It's beautiful. So, our super special guest for the week, Boyd Craven. Where can everybody find you, sir?
At my website, boydcraven.com, on Facebook, Amazon, Audible, iTunes.
Everywhere.
I was going to say, crying in West Texas because I suck.
Well, you're right.
Yeah.
All right, well, for Richard Ryan Rose, my liege, Angelus Maximus, Boyd Craven, I am Jack Childress. This has been the Written Undead Podcast. We'll see y'all next week. Peace out.
Later, guys.
Later.